Hello everyone and welcome back to the F2 show by Inside F2. Formula 2 reaches the halfway point of the season and Austria marked it. What a weekend it was. Aaron and Omi with me to reflect on this one. And Aaron, I know you like Austria, and you know how I know that you like Austria? Because it's a circuit that's been on the calendar for years and you are so old. So how was how was it being watching Formula 2 cars going around in Austria this weekend? It's good to be on a classic track, right?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the lines that were being taken through turn 3, I thought they were taking the old Österreich ring, and I was like, oh, we're having a real throwback here. But no, it's always exciting to go to Austria. The circuit layout and the 3 DRS zones, all one after the other, really lends itself to really good close racing, because the one on the pit straight gets someone into position. The run up the hill is naturally a very good overtaking opportunity. There's a little bit of DRS chicken. Who's going to cross the line first? Do you position your car and just sort of lift and then position yourself for turn 4, which isn't an easy overtake, even with the DRS. You can defend into there. We saw some drivers do it successfully. We saw some drivers do it unsuccessfully. And there's just that hairpin at turn, I call it turn 2, but the track map says turn 3.
Turn 3.
So
yeah.
we'll call it quits and go turn 2.5. So at turn 2.5, it's always a pinch point, and there's always the possibility of a little bit of chaos. And I think we got our fair dollop of it this weekend.
We are absolutely going to get onto that, because turn 3 or turn 2.5, as you're going to call it, was obviously a major talking point this weekend. Just before we move on, it is so hot in the UK right now. We're having a bit of a mini heat wave. Are you okay, Aaron? Because I know, you don't enjoy the heat, do you?
Not particularly. I feel like a very old Pirelli tyre that's done about 60 laps. So it's just a bit like worn out. Like, can we get to the end of the day where it's a bit cooler? I get a chance to stop. But no, it's all good. I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Good. Glad you're going to be all right for the podcast. And I know you've been on a press conferences this weekend as well, so we'll hear a little bit of insight from you from those. Omi, good to have you with us. I know you were commentating on Formula 3, Formula 2 this weekend, Porsche Super Cup as well, weren't you? So Austria, to me, always provides good racing at this level, doesn't it, Omi?
Yeah, absolutely. Always delivers some thrilling moments, even if we go back to what we've seen over the years. It's always an exciting weekend, whether it's Artem Markelov overtaking 4 cars on a last lap, 3 in one corner to be specific as well, or Richard Verschoor doing absolute brilliance on a last lap as well in 2023 in the feature race. So the expectation when we come to Austria is always quite high, and it absolutely did deliver in terms of chaos and some great battling as well, which, as we were discussing earlier and as we mentioned, the Austria circuit does allow overtaking, and it allows drivers to pass, then repass, and then repass again. So it can lead to some amazing moments across the weekend.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about some of those moments, as I said, as we go through the podcast. We're definitely going to be talking about those incidents in a sprint race. What a race that was in such a short space of time as well. And we're also going to be talking about some of the winners and the losers from the first half of the season as we move into the second half of the season. But let's get into it. I don't really know where to start with this one, because so much happened this weekend, albeit I did feel like the feature race perhaps wasn't as chaotic as we've seen in feature races so far this season, but it's nice to have a bit of a breather, I guess, and see some genuine pace from some of the front runners. Should we start with Richard Verschoor? Obviously, a controlling win to take the championship lead from Alex Dunne, who was later disqualified from the race. But yeah, in terms of Verschoor, I thought it was a really impressive performance by Verschoor, Aaron. It was he didn't. There wasn't a point where, after he took the lead, where I know Alex Dunne was closing a little bit, but I didn't think that he was going to pass Richard Verschoor. I felt like he was in total control.
He was, and the only reason that Dunne was realistically closing the gap significantly was because of traffic. It's a short circuit, so the qualifying lap time was 1 minute 10 something, 1 minute 15. So you're going to get traffic if you're the leaders, and how you navigate that is part of the game. Yes, there are blue flags, but drivers don't always want to get out of the way, and they don't always see the leaders coming through to lap them, as we saw in the Formula 1 race with the Alpine of Franco Colapinto and Oscar Piastri's McLaren, which ended up on the grass, which it could have ended up a whole lot worse. So that's the trickiness of navigating the traffic. But yeah, Richard Verschoor, once he got into the lead, he looked very, very assured in the lead. Never really any doubt, was it? Because he got there and he stayed there and he looked very comfortable. He looked like a man comfortable in his own skin, comfortable in the team that he's in. He's having a bit of a Felipe Drugovich season, isn't he? He's found the right environment. We've spoken about this many times before. The environment is key. In a series where the cars are, let's say for want of a better phrase, equal, they are defined somewhat by the way the team sets the car up and somewhat by the way the driver drives the car and the performance that they can extract from it. Verschoor is just riding that momentum wave to the top of the championship now and looks really strong. He did say that that's what he was looking for with his switch to MP. He wanted to find that consistency because he's shown before, especially at Austria, that he can be absolutely devastatingly fast, but he's just not been able to put it together across a season. Now it looks like he is. I mean, he's done 5 seasons now in Formula 2. You'd hope that experience will start to pay off. And it really is. He's thinking his way through races really maturely. It's so impressive. It is a shame that there doesn't seem to be a route for him into Formula 1 because I think he could do really, really well. Dutch Motorsport is up and coming, obviously, with a world champion in Max Verstappen. So, if they get another Dutch driver on the grid in Richard Verschoor, he'd have a lot of support. Unfortunately, unless Cadillac take a punt on him if he wins the title, if they do a bit of a Bortoletto swoop and pick him up, perhaps, but that's getting a long way ahead of ourselves. There's still half a Formula 2 season to go, and there's been plenty happen already. There's still so much that can happen, but Richard is driving fantastically, so you cannot take that away from him. It was an excellent performance.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And the last 2 rounds, I mean, he had a good round in Barcelona as well, didn't he? Really making up for... He had a couple of rounds in Imola and Monaco where he didn't score many points, so really making up for that.
I remember him telling me that he was not well at Imola, so he was a bit under the weather. So to pull, I think it was 2 points out of that weekend, having qualified I think it was 18th or 19th.
Yeah.
To pull those points out, actually, in quite a chaotic race and a physical race. Again, really impressive because they'd had some issues with the car. They managed to identify it and they managed to get the performance. And he managed to draw that performance out of himself because clearly he's in an environment that allows him to feel like that even when he's not feeling at his best. So I think that makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, impressed with Richard Verschoor. It was, again, as we've already mentioned, he takes a 24-point lead into the second half of the season, which is not bad going at this point, no?
Yeah, and with the season that we've had in Formula 2, it has been so close. So to have a 24-point gap, it is absolutely remarkable for him. The environment, which of course Aaron was just mentioning as well. He, of course, when he joined Formula 2 for his first season in 2021, was also part of the MP Motorsport squad as well. So he's been able to return back there. And he's shining once again. But this time, critically, over a full season, as we've already mentioned. And he'll be hoping to continue that all the way till the end of the campaign. But most of all, if he can work on those qualifyings, which it looks like is getting better and better, he's giving himself a good opportunity for the races. And that's exactly what he needs. He needs to be consistent across the season. And he definitely demonstrated that across the feature race in Austria. When he went onto the back of our net race leader at the time, Victor Martins. The way he could just play around with it. Martins was able to retake the position, defend momentarily. We discussed about the overtaking that you can do, the pass and repass stuff at Austria. But the way he just had the control to be able to easily slot back in and then go for the move and then commit round the outside down into turn 4, I think showed a lot about the confidence that Verschoor has at this point in the season.
Yeah, and Aaron, Omi's mentioned qualifying there, and I know he spoke to you about that in the press conference, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I did ask both Richard and Alex Dunne. I mean, Alex Dunne is still second in the championship, despite his disqualification. So both of them said that they wanted to do better in qualifying, and you've been tracking the qualifying averages, and Richard has an average of just above 7th place on the grid, which isn't terrible. But factor in that Alex Dunne is qualifying just above 4th, and then you've got Victor Martins and Leonardo Fornaroli, who are the best 2 qualifiers. So qualifying certainly does need to improve, but if he is generally around sort of the middle of that top 10, he's always got a shot if his race pace is good, because a lot of the circuits you can overtake at, they're not all sort of whoever's out the first corner wins. It's there's opportunities in Formula 2, and he's putting himself in position to take them. So he did also say that when Alex Dunne is at the front, he needs to be there as well, because they were the closest two at the time of talking, but obviously Jack Crawford is now slightly closer thanks to Dunne's disqualification. So it is tightening up, but that 24-point cushion is very useful to have if Richard can keep up this consistency. I mean, last season, Isaac Hadjar had something like a nearly 40-point advantage, I think, at one point, and that all disappeared in the space of 2 weekends. Yeah. So you can go from riding very, very high in Formula 2 and thinking, I'm on the way here, and you can be at almost rock bottom very, very soon after. So that consistency and that approach and that environment, if that can be sustained, Richard Verschoor is looking very, very strong for the championship.
Yeah, he is. He's only one win, by the way, away from the all-time record in Formula 2. So 8 is the record held by Felipe Drugovich, Nick De Vries and Charles Leclerc, which is ridiculous. Bearing in mind he was in Formula 2 for just one season. But they are the record holders, and Richard Verschoor has now 7 wins. So he's only one win away from that record of 8. So I would, I reckon he will at least match that, if not, move ahead of those drivers in terms of all-time wins in Formula 2. I want to talk about Alex Dunne, because what a crazy weekend he had, obviously, with in Formula 1. He stepped into Formula 1 in FP1 and showed the world what he could do. Only less than a tenth away from Oscar Piastri. Stepped back into a Formula 2 car, and he took a bit of time to get up and running in qualifying, didn't he? Obviously, it was down in like 18th or 19th for the first part of qualifying. Managed to get into the top 10, and that kind of transformed his weekend, didn't it? Until the point where he got disqualified for the plank wear on his car. But other than that, I mean, the feature race, again, he showed really strong pace, didn't he? From 7th on the grid to first, Aaron. I don't know. And I owe me again, if jump in, because Alex Dunne, I think... good weekend for him, just slightly unlucky with the disqualification.
I mean, you take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Alex Dunne, we had it last year, I think, with Isaac Hadjar as well, where when you see a driver go to the Formula 1 practice, it can take a few laps to adapt. And while I was covering that for radio, that Formula 2 qualifying session, I mentioned how he was, of course, adapting back to the Formula 2 car, and we probably could see him, if it all goes well, by the end of the session. We did see him emerge to the top 10, which was very critical for Alex Dunne's weekend. But yeah, he's, of course, having to now factor in that he is absolutely a championship contender, and is also having to avoid stuff like, for example, what happened in Monaco. So you are having to sit in behind sometimes, settle in for those seconds, thirds, and those type of positions, which is exactly what most people said after Monaco. It's exactly what he's trying to bring into his driving. Of course, he's always going to make those dive bombs. That's basically his style, kind of Daniel Ricciardo stuff, basically, as well. And I think Maney also usually went for it over the years in Formula 2 as well. So that is his style. But if he can just learn when to go for it and learn when to sit back, I think that's absolutely perfect. But I think, as he demonstrated in that Formula 1 session, the raw speed is absolutely there for Alex Dunne. And I noticed that when I covered him in Macau in 2023, when he arrived on the scene in that one. He found himself in the wall, unfortunately, on the opening lap in the main race. But he demonstrated the pace across that weekend and really, really impressed me up against, at the time, what were Formula 2 and Formula 3 drivers.
And he did speak about the adaptation back to the Formula 2 car as being the hardest part of the weekend. Going from the Formula 2 car to the Formula 1 car was maybe quite straightforward, I think, because he described it as almost having an unlimited amount of grip. You could push the front of the Formula 1 car. Obviously, he's in a McLaren, which is the class of the field this season. You could push it and it would keep giving you grip. And he took that into his qualifying session and found himself almost off the road a couple of times. So I think it's really impressive with Alex Dunne, despite the disqualification, that if you look at the season he's had so far, every time there has been some sort of setback or mistake, he's come back and done it better. It's absolutely fine to make mistakes. It's not about being perfect. In any walk of life, you are allowed to make small mistakes. some mistakes are obviously more significant than others. So there is a parameter there. But if you keep repeating the same mistake, that is worse than making the same mistake, the one mistake in the first place. And what we've seen with Alex Dunne is he is able to learn from those mistakes and bring it into his racecraft. So the dive bomb-esque moves that were getting him in trouble in Bahrain, he put that right on the Sunday. And then there's been other things throughout the season, like the lap 1 in Monaco, the adaptation back to the F2 car from driving FP1, where he's learned and just refined what he's doing. And that's what he spoke about in the press conference. He just wants to refine everything. There doesn't, apart from qualifying and improving that slightly, there's not one thing he wants to do better. He just wants to push everything up gradually, and be better. Just be slightly better each weekend. Just be a bit better next weekend after that. And it will all come to him. Because, like Omi said, the raw speed is there. And that's what McLaren will look for alongside the learning. Can you be really fast? And if you make a mistake, can you learn from it and improve?
Yeah.
And that's what these F1 teams are now looking for. They're not looking for the F2 champion necessarily. They are looking for the driver who has the speed and has everything else that can go with it. And F2 is becoming that proving ground for that. And that's exactly what it should be.
Absolutely. So I picked out a post that I saw on X. So Dan on X said, Alex Dunne is becoming Max Verstappen-esque. He's the most devastatingly effective overtaker in Formula 2. I wanted to bring that to you, chaps. What are your thoughts on that? Is he Max Verstappen-esque in the way he goes racing, do you think, Homie?
Well, that's an interesting one. I think, if there's an opportunity he sees, he will definitely go for it. But, I feel like we need to look more back to what Verstappen was like, because these drivers are still the unfinished package. So they're still learning as well. And that's what we mentioned in terms of Alex Dunne continuing to improve. But, I think definitely his style can possibly be matched to what Verstappen goes about with his racing. And he's also, of course, got the raw speed as well, does Alex Dunne, as we've already described it as. But, with overtaking, if there is any drivers who you have in your mirrors, you are most likely expecting him to come down the inside in a few moments' time. I feel like the connection can be made slightly. And I'm going to be interested to see what Alex Dunne continues to do in terms of his overtaking. But the good thing was that he was able to, as Aaron mentioned, correct what happened in the Bahrain sprint race into the feature race, and then to be able to make history and win it.
I think it's a reasonable comparison. It's quite a big comparison. World champion versus Formula 2 driver. So there are definitely similarities, but I think there are many drivers that, given the opportunity, can be very ruthless with the way they overtake. It's just maybe they perhaps get tangled up in issues, and then that kind of makes them a bit more, I say, passive, because they don't want to. They're almost too frightened to make that mistake again. Not to say that these drivers are scared of making an overtake. Absolutely far from it, but it maybe just puts a little bit of doubt in their mind. They second guess themselves slightly. But Alex Dunne is very effective at moving himself forwards in races. And, if your qualifying isn't going to put you on pole position every week, then you've got to be able to overtake people. And that is a skill in itself. And the thing is, he's driving a bright orange car. So it's hard to miss him. So if he turns up in your wing mirrors and he sends it, you see him coming. So they've got plenty of opportunity to get out of the way.
No, for sure. It bodes well for Alex Dunne for the rest of the season, doesn't it? Someone else I want to talk about is Victor Martins. Came out of the pits in the lead. Obviously, his qualifying isn't an issue for Victor Martins. He's qualified P2 in some 4 or 5 races this year, but he just doesn't seem to have the pace to compete with the front runners in race situations. Am I being harsh on him there, Romy, or is that a fair observation? Because qualifying is really good, but he's down in 9th in the standings. He just doesn't have the points to back up his good qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a driver who does do well in qualifying, but then things tend to go wrong in the races, unfortunately, for him. Some out of his control. But I absolutely can agree with that. It does seem like that sometimes when we do get to the race situations, like, for example, even in Austria, where he was running in a net P1. It was Verschoor, as I described it earlier on, who just had the confidence and was able to pass him and then go up the road. And then Martins got caught up in the battles behind. So I feel like he could be possibly definitely struggling at this stage. And it really annoys me to be able to see that, considering what I saw with him in Formula 3. And then also some of the talk that there was in F2 in 2023 of had he had a little bit more luck, then he could have been a title contender that year.
Yeah.
And we're all the way here now in 2025, and he finds himself all the way down in ninth. So yeah, it's not been an easy 2024 and also now a 2025. But it's sad because we do see the glimpses of pace when it comes to qualifying.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, thank you to everyone who's a part of our Discord channel, involved in the Discord channel. We see your questions coming in for the podcast, and we try to take as many of them as we can from there onto the podcast. And Aaron, Salvatore asks, what are your thoughts on Victor Martins and his chances for the title at this point in the season?
I think they're very slim. He's got 49 points versus 114 for Richard Verschoor. That is a lot of points to claw back in half a season. Yeah. It's not undoable if Martins keeps sticking it on the front row and starts winning feature races at a ridiculous rate. But I don't see it happening. The problem I see for ART is that they've got a car, the way they're setting up the car is really good at executing a single lap. So you see that in qualifying. He's always at the front. His qualifying average is exactly 4, which is very, very good. He's been on pole position several times in the front row several times. If you look at Monaco, and I know his race was very short in Monaco, but he would have come out in front. And I think that was all to do. Yes, he got a very good start, but also I think that car warms its tyres up really well. It extracts the performance from them very quickly, which is great in qualifying. Really helpful for executing an undercut strategy like in Austria. Gets you the track position. Problem is, you lose pace. 3 DRS zones at Austria make you a sitting duck. Yeah. I mean, he did really well to compete in the way that he did. He was unfortunate with Pepe Marti, and there was another driver who he banged wheels with. I can't quite remember who it was, but he was unfortunate in those battles. But it's a recurring theme for both Victor and for ART that they qualify at the front and go backwards in the race. Alex Dunne, by contrast, is qualifying sort of middle of the top 10 and going forwards. And that is reflected completely in the championship standings. Alex Dunne has 2 feature race victories. Victor Martins has a best of 3rd in Jeddah, and there's 51 points between them.
Yeah.
Sorry, 41 points.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. For me, we've got 7 rounds remaining in 2025. I think Victor Martins will need to win 5 feature races in order to win the championship, bearing in mind the rate at which Richard Verschoor and Alex Dunne are scoring points at, and Jack Crawford and Fornaroli. I mean, they're all collecting points, aren't they? So I think for me, he would need to win 5 out of the 7 feature races to be in with a shot of winning the title, which isn't impossible, but it's definitely a stretch, isn't it? So one of the most memorable moments of the weekend, I think that's fair to say, was a big incident. In fact, there were 2 big incidents, weren't there, in the sprint race? The first one was arguably the bigger one, Sami Megatunov rolling over Luke Browning's car, trying to park on top of him, which isn't, it's I guess, suboptimal in Formula 2 to try and park on another person's car. And the second one was Amory Cordill, who spun and then was hit by Gabriele Mini, who was then hit by Leo Fornaroli, who was then hit by John Bennett, who was on course for his best result in Formula 2, his first points of the season as well, which was such a shame. But Omi, I don't know what your thoughts were on those incidents. I mean, the Megatunov one was a scary one, wasn't it? I'm glad that they're all okay.
Yeah, that was the most important thing, that they were all able to walk away. But when you saw that from the drone shot as well, we saw the Trident roll over, and it wasn't a pleasant sight to see at all. So our immediate thoughts were to hope that the drivers were all okay, and luckily in our case it was as well, and they were all able to luckily walk away with that one. But that's not what you want to see. And turn number 3, 2.5, Remus, whatever you want to call it, I guess that was a bit of a cursed corner this weekend in Formula 2. We've had lots of action there, but quite a lot of crashes and contacts and absolutely everything else going on there.
Yeah, Aaron, is that another couple of points for the Halo?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest. So I'll tell you a little story. about how I was watching the sprint race on Saturday afternoon. So I was in a cafe in the New Forest, like a farm cafe, and I was watching it on my phone.
Very
And
nice.
I just saw the car was upside down, and I thought, oh, okay, that's not good. But we've seen cars roll. We've seen Zhou Guanyu end up behind the barriers, and the halo has done its job. The roll hoop does its job, even though at that point it hadn't rolled back over. But I thought that was more to do with the camber of the corner, that it sort of just hit it at a bad angle. So I never felt for any moment that Sam Megatunif was in any danger. Then I saw the replay and how close he and Luke Browning were to each other, and I thought, you know what, actually the halo has saved 2 lives there, because it's kept their heads apart. If you think about it, without the halo, they're making head-to-head contact. It doesn't bear thinking about. That halo has done an incredible job. We don't have to praise it anymore. It just does its job. It's fantastic. It is an enormous benefit to the sport. It is such a shame that it took such a tragic loss for it to come in. But terrifying probably in the car, and for the families of those 2 drivers who were involved. Thankfully, everyone was safe. And the incident at the end of the race with Cordeal, Mini, Fornaroli and Bennett, that could have been a whole lot worse as well, because cars ploughing into each other, you saw the way they started to stack up. That can get pretty gnarly as well. So again, we're very lucky that no one was hurt. Everyone took the start on race day, which was great. So yeah, I mean, you never want to see drivers losing results on the final lap in that fashion. There was something slightly comical about it, the way that they just sort of drove into the back of each other. But I suppose for the likes of John Bennett and Anne-Marie Cordeal, that will be absolutely not a funny moment for them, because that was some good points there on course for. I think Cordeal was shooting for a podium when he spun. Bennett was on for, 6th or 7th?
Yeah.
And these are drivers who have had moments in a season, and this was one of their big moments so far. And just bad luck, unfortunately. But fortunately, all the drivers were okay, and that is what we can take away from it, that the halo has done its job, and the structure of these cars is sound enough that even when cars start sort of piling into each other, then the drivers are safe and well, and they can walk away, which is always good to see.
Absolutely. Can't park there, sir, can you? But definitely glad that everyone was okay, because they were a nasty couple of incidents. But it was a commanding win for Pepe Marti, Aaron. It was a really good win for him, wasn't it? He looked in control. Same as Richard Verschoor, really, the majority of that race. Yeah,
very good performance from him. And he said after the race that he knew he had to get past Josh Dirksen, so he did. But credit to Josh Dirksen. He did not give it up without a fight. That little sneaky dive bomb into turn 6, very good racecraft. I mean, that you have to get that absolutely spot on, otherwise you're pitching the other car into a spin, or you're losing your own front wing. And that would have been bad news for both of those drivers, because neither of them would have gone on to win the race. As it was, they came home first and second. And, Josh has had a dip in form recently, and that was a good return. Shame that his engine failed on feature race Sunday. But for Pepe Marti, another driver who's had a slightly up and down season, been slightly overshadowed by his teammate Arva Dindblad at Campos, who obviously won the feature race in Spain so commandingly well. So a really positive performance for him. And he was strong again on feature race Sunday, which was a really good showing. For him, it's now about putting the races together sequentially. We've got Silverstone coming up this weekend. Then they go to Spa and to Budapest. So if he can put a run of races together before the summer break, Pepe Marti will put himself in a strong position. And there's always an outside shot of a Red Bull drive somewhere in Formula One. So, if you're performing well, if you're flavour of the month, give yourself that opportunity.
Yeah, he's not too far away, is he? So not too many points behind his teammate. His teammate, he's getting a FP1 run out in Silverstone next weekend. So perhaps that's not a million miles away for Pepe Marti if he can continue delivering as well. Aaron, you mentioned Josh Dirksen having an issue with his engine, and I wanted to bring that up. Stefan has asked Mini, Miata, Cordeal, Dirksen all having engine issues in the feature race. Why does this keep happening in Formula 2? It's ruining the series, is what Stefan says. Omi, do you Yeah, do you agree with that? It's difficult, isn't it? I don't think we actually know for sure that Miata definitely had an engine issue, from what I know. But it is a shame that some of these drivers are losing out on the opportunity to compete because of circumstances that are out of their control, right?
Yeah, and also when it's happening regularly as well, which is why that comment has been made, which I can understand it because, to have so many cars be eliminated due to it, and then to also have it just in one single feature race when the series is all about showing the talents of drivers, which, at some point it is going to happen, an issue like that. But it's annoying to see that it's happening frequently, I think is the way to put it, especially if we compare it to Formula 3, where we're seeing that much less there. It's definitely not what we want when we're trying to showcase the talents of drivers, and it definitely means that it is affecting lots of drivers in terms of their championship as well. Even if we go back to the start of the season in Australia, we had drivers like Arvid Lindblad affected by engine cuts. We had to have an extra 20-minute session before the F2 sprint. That took place, an extra shakedown as well to get that sorted. So across the season, I think even if we include a bit of last year, there has been engine issues, and an engine is a huge talk when it's come to Formula 2. And it's definitely not the talk that we want to be having when the series is so great, when it is so competitive, and when all of these drivers are paying so much to put themselves in these seats to be competing on this Formula 1 weekend as they try get to the pinnacle of the sport.
Yeah. Aaron, anything to add?
I feel like that's just sort of motor racing. Like you can have unreliability. I think it stands out like a sore thumb nowadays because reliability is just so good. It's so much more improved than sort of 15 years ago when you had sort of taking a Formula One example when they had the new hybrid engines. That we had teams and engine manufacturers that were really, really struggling. It's not. I don't think it's a disaster. I think it's just one of those things that can happen if a team gets their cooling requirements wrong. Then that can overheat the engine. So you don't want to place too much blame on the provider of the engine because it could be something that the teams are doing at the same time. But yeah, it's never ideal for drivers to have their race end on lap 1 or lap 3 because of a power unit failure. But at the same time, that is motor racing, and all the drivers will understand that. It can happen to anyone at any point.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we're halfway through the season now, and a few people on our Discord channel have asked some questions, so I thought we'd have some fun with them. So, who we got? Ren's Nanas 13, I think that username is pronounced, says, who do you think is the most overlooked driver in Formula 2 right now? Omi, we'll come to you first, if that's all right.
I've always thought Crawford. He's in his third season, of course, of Formula 2. Always showed some great talent in Formula 3 as well. And I've always believed he's another driver who has lots of speed in him and lots of different attributes as well, which it's been disappointing that we've not been able to see it as much. And I don't think it's always been as displayed. But I feel like this season he's doing quite well. And I feel like he could definitely continue it throughout the second half of his campaign. So I feel like he is a driver that people should definitely be keeping an eye on because he's just kind of doing his job across this season. I mean, to find himself third in the championship, I think tells you everything you need to know in terms of he's been one of those consistent figures and is one of those drivers who's there to capitalize in case something does go wrong for Verschoor or Alex Dunne.
Yeah, Jack Crawford is, I think people forget how young Jack Crawford is. Made his debut in Formula 2 as a 17-year-old. So I think he's 19, 20 years old and, still one of the youngest drivers on the grid, really. But yeah, obviously with a lot of experience, only 26 points off the Champions League. So, Championship lead. I think it's a good shout. Aaron, who's your most overlooked driver in Formula 2 right now?
Well, first of all, Jack Crawford is third, which would get him a place in the Champions League if he was racing in the Premier League. So that's all good. I think
maybe we should implement that. Maybe the top four go up to Formula 1 and the bottom. Yeah. Anyway,
a promotion relegation formula. Yeah, that would be a fantastic. That would be really exciting. I think you can't look much further than Richard Verschoor. It's an easy answer because he's leading the championship at the moment, but he's not backed by any of the Formula One teams. He's been asking around to see if he can get himself signed up somewhere. Obviously, the likes of Alex Dunne, Jack Crawford, Luke Browning, Lindblad Martin, Victor Martins, all very fast drivers, all backed by F1 teams. Leonardo Fornaroli isn't, but I think we can't say he's overlooked because he is the reigning Formula 3 champion. So a little bit more time needs to be accounted for him to become sort of overlooked if people aren't really looking at him in that way. But yeah, Verschoor, he's maturing at a different rate to other drivers. He's 24 years old. He turns 25 at the end of December. So, and again, we spoke about the environment. He's getting the best out of himself. So now it's his time to stand up and say, hey, look at me. This is what you've been missing because I haven't been able to show it. But now that I'm showing it, this is what I can offer. And I think that's sort of the combination. It was teams not noticing him because it was all sort of very intermittent. But on the other side, he wasn't putting the consistency together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Emily asks, who has been your driver of the year and what has been your moment of the year? Omi, I'll come to you first on that one. Driver of the year, moment of the year.
Well, with driver, I'm gonna say Alex Dunne. I was kind of debating him with Verschoor, but I feel like I kind of thought Verschoor would definitely turn up, take the wins, but he's definitely improved his consistency, which I absolutely love in terms of Verschoor. But the reason why I say Alex Dunne, of course, I mentioned Macau earlier on. That's when I first discovered him. And when he did get to Formula 3, he always struggled to find himself being able to contend. There was a few occasions, like, for example, Austria last year, Spain as well, where he was a driver in contention, but he wasn't always able to remain or get to the top step. He didn't take a win until he got to Formula 2 on a Formula 1 Grand Prix weekend before as well. So for him to come in, and sometimes it just clicks for drivers at this level in Formula 2. And I feel like that's been the case for him. But you do have to remember, he's still a rookie. And the way he's come into this season and already been a dominant force as well, and been a driver that everyone has to keep an eye on and watch, I think definitely shows quite a lot of his talent. So for me, he's been the driver of the season as well, if you consider everything behind it. For a moment of the year, I absolutely loved the sprint at Bahrain. That was extraordinary. The safety car restart and all the way till the end. That was just box office Formula 2. So if I had to pick a moment, it definitely has to be that.
Love that. Aaron?
I'd have to agree with Alex Dunne as the driver of the season. I think we hoped and expected that Richard Verschoor would be up the front and fighting for wins. I don't think we quite knew what to expect from Alex Dunne, given his Formula 3 campaign. But to take a phrase from Alex Brundle, friend of the show, Alex Dunne has gone, if you've given him more, he's done more. So he's gone with the machinery that he's got and got better. You give him more power, he goes faster. It's not a case of, I've got too many horses under my right foot, I'm just going to, rein it in a bit and learn and sort of get used to it. No, he's gone. And he's taken advantage. So it's been great to see. And at the risk of just repeating what Omi's saying, I'm going to choose a very specific moment from the Bahrain sprint race, because Oliver Goethe, around the outside of turn 11, I think it was, or turn 12, around the outside of two cars. It's absolutely that is the sort of stuff you put in a film. I don't know if anyone's made any movies about motorsport recently, but
put that in there.
Put something in there like that, because that is absolutely fantasy racing. That's the stuff you do on a PlayStation when you put the computer level at 0 and you just want to embarrass everybody.
Put some music over the top of that clip and it will be beautiful, won't it? So literally,
it's made for cinema.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is the standout moment for me.
Absolutely. Odd to see him flying across the track this weekend on that sausage curb. I was glad that he was all right after that as well, because that was a scary moment.
Another one that could have gone very, very wrong. The drivers did mention the curb in the press conference, so maybe that'll be looked at. But I think that sausage curb is there to stop them cutting the corner. So it's a bit like, well, what do you do now? You can't put a wall there, because that would be even worse.
Definitely in Formula 1, there were, a few years ago, you're looking at over 1,000 track violations in Austria. This year, 0. So the changes to the circuit have absolutely done the job. But obviously that sausage curb, is an issue when incidents like that happen. Glad that Ollie Goethe was all right, and it turns out Red Bull really does give you wings, doesn't it? So, I was going to say, by the way, my driver of the season, I'm going to go slightly different to you guys with Alex Dunne. I'm actually going to go for, I think, if I remember rightly, my one to watch this season, who was Sebastian Montoya. It took a few rounds to get up and running, but the last after the first 3 rounds of the season in Melbourne, Sakir, and Jeddah, Imola qualified second, Monaco qualified fifth, Barcelona second, qualified just outside the top 10 this weekend, but obviously a great drive in the feature race to come through to fifth place, I think it was, if I'm not right in saying that. With a bent steering arm as well. So Sebastian Montoya, for me, a bit of an underrated driver of the season, in my opinion. Next question. So Salvatore is back and asks, what are your thoughts on Roman Stanek so far this season? I think he's doing a good job, has improved quite a lot. Omi, I'm going to come to you for that one.
Yeah, I feel like he has improved, considering what we've seen previously from him. He had 3 seasons in Formula 3, I remember, as well. And he found himself as a contender in 2022, near the front of that campaign. And then, of course, got his promotion to Formula 2 in the Trident car as well. And he had some points. He was able to get himself into points a few times as well. But it wasn't really a standout season for Trident that year, bar that one win that they were able to get in the Netherlands in the feature race as well. An absolutely wild one by Clement Novalak. But yeah, and then we went into 2024. He was able to get a win in Australia due to the penalty that Isaac Hadjar received in the sprint race as well. So looking at him previously and looking at him now, I feel like Invicta's a team that does very well. I mean, we have seen champions of Formula 3 who won with Trident go to that Invicta seat for a reason. And he finds himself in that seat, and he's putting on he's right now showing himself as a decent driver who's getting himself into points. But I do want to see him continue to develop and improve, so we can see him battling more on the podium and possibly even for some more victories.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Aaron, I'm going to come to you for this next one. What do you think on Gabriele Mini's future in Formula 2? Which team should he join to showcase his talent? Interesting. So, do you think he'll move? Do you think he'll move from Prima? I'm not sure he would personally, but
there's a possibility because he's really struggling. He's 13th in the championship, 21 points. This was a driver that the Lord of Formula 2, Alex Jakes, predicted for big things this season. He was the championship pick of the outgoing Formula 2 commentator.
He started the season by sticking it on pole in Melbourne, right?
Yeah. It was... I don't know where that pace has gone. It's just evaporated, and no one seems to know where it is. They can't seem to find it. They're checking every single pocket on every single piece of clothing, and they're not finding it. So it's bizarre. It's very odd. But also, Prema are just not seeming to adapt to this machine. ART are struggling to get on top of this machine.
Yeah.
Invicta, Campos, MP, Rodin, and High-Tech are all nailing this. And Dams, they're all getting the machinery to work for them. And their drivers are scoring big points. Prema, they're kind of hanging out there for a sprint race win if they qualify in the middle of the grid.
Yeah.
Which is a bonkers thing to be saying about Prema Racing because that's not how they go about their motorsport.
No, for sure. Okay, final question from Salvatore again. So, I just want a one word answer on this one, guys, if you can. How many drivers do you see in the title fight now that we've reached the halfway point of the season? Omi, how many drivers?
4.
4 drivers. Okay, Aaron, how many drivers do you think are in with a shot?
6.
6. Okay, so you think the top 6 up to
down to Lindblad.
Lindblad and Pape Mart is maybe a bit too far. Of those top 6, Omi, who are you discarding from the championship? Who do you think won't win the championship out of those top 6?
I don't think we're gonna get Browning up there.
Okay.
I feel like he's had a very good season, but I do have a feeling that he does need to try catch some momentum again. He was, of course, able to get to the 5th in the feature race, but I feel like he could be a driver who possibly gets eliminated, possibly in the penultimate round as well. And Fornaroli, I think he's definitely still building and has a good shot next year.
Neither of those drivers yet to win a race, obviously. So
the problem for Leo Fornaroli is he can't buy a win. Poor guy. He can start on pole position. He can be leading at Monaco, and he still can't get the win. I feel so sorry for the lad because it's just like, what does he need to do? It's so frustrating for him because if you think about it, if he turns a couple of them, even if the Monaco one, if he wins that, right, Monaco, he only gets handed 10 points, but yeah, an extra 3 points puts him in third on 89.
Yeah.
And if that race had gone the distance, 25, yeah, he'd be ahead of Dunne. He'd be second in the championship. And that is the way the cookie crumbles in motorsport sometimes, and it crumbles against you like an avalanche of crumbs. Yeah. So it's just like, poor guy. But he is the Formula 3 champion, and he did it without winning a race. So, he's going to stealth his way to this one, Gabriel Bortoleto style.
Nice. Okay, before we go, let's take a quick moment. I want to give a shout out to Kimi Antonelli for getting a podium last time out in Canada in Formula 1, and Gabriel Bortoleto for getting his first points in the green wheelie bin in Formula 1 in Austria this weekend. Aaron, I know you wanted to give a little shout out to someone as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, well done to Kimi Antonelli delivering a podium on his first visit to the Montreal circuit in Canada, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, sort of emulating somewhat his predecessor at Mercedes in Lewis Hamilton, who scored his first Formula 1 victory there in 2007. And they were talking about the challenge of that circuit and actually how it's so tricky. And for a rookie to do so well actually shows you really what they're made of. So I think that was a real statement performance for Kimi Antonelli. We won't dwell too much on what happened at the Austrian Grand Prix for him. But Gabriel Bortoleto, very well done for him, getting his first points at Sauber. But Paul Aron is also getting a drive in the Sauber. He'll be getting an FP1 outing because the Alpine merry-go-round of drivers continues. Who even knows what's going to happen with that second seat? We've had Jack Doohan graduate from Formula 2 and be dumped after, 6 races? Franco Colapinto's now in there, graduating from Formula 2 and isn't, doing as well as people hoped. There's even talk of Valtteri Bottas taking that seat. So who knows? If Paul Aron does really well in the Sauber, Alpine might go, you're our guy, and give him a chance. So, it might just be an F2 merry-go-round of drivers in the second Alpine seat for now.
Yeah, and they got former Formula 2 champion Mick Schumacher in that stable of drivers as well. And they obviously doing the World Endurance Championship for Alpine. So don't rule him out for getting a shot for the final 6 races of the season or something. Alpine. But listen, that's all we got time for today. If you've enjoyed the show, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to hear more Formula 2 content. Get involved in the conversation as well on our Discord channel. As we've mentioned, had lots of questions in there that we try to ask on the podcast. But from me, Fraser Ford, and all of us here at Inside F2, see you next time.